What's going on, peeps? It's Carlos, my wife Lexi. We didn't plan on being where we are now, in this point in our life, being, broken and homeless and struggling and, living in our daughter's garage. And that we want to share is that, how we made it through without attacking our relationship and attacking our marriage, and how we stuck together despite everything that we've gone through. So now we acknowledge that when couples go through hardship like this, one of the things um, that break up marriages is financial hardship. It's going through the shit that we went through and stuff like that. And so we acknowledge that this is what happened. So we were determined to not let that happen to us. And so that's what the purpose of this video is, right? Like, to tell you that, I would say that I think first of all, let me say is, at least for me, there was at no point a moment in my life where I'm like, I'm out. Like, figure this shit out on yourself. Like, this is not working. Like, we need to go. Like, I'm just gonna go.
Yeah, I don't think either of us ever considered not being together, going through what we were going through. And something that I think we both said to each other on several occasions throughout all of this is that I don't like that I'm going through this, but I'm okay going through this because I have you.
Right.
Most people, again, like he just said, would think, well, when you're going through situations like this, most people, it breaks them, and it's understandably. I'm not saying that, it's not understandable. It's very understandable. It can break you. And if you let it, it will break you. That's the bottom line. If you let it, it's going to break you. But no, there was never a time when I said to myself, well, I'll just leave him. And I mean, because at the end of the day, I'm still going to be in the situation that I'm in. However, not have the person that I love beside me going, to go through it with me. So what would be the point of separating and having to go through it alone?
I think the key for us was that we understood that it wasn't her versus me. Mm-hmm. It was us versus this problem. It made it easier to get through because I knew there was somebody else with me trying to fight. And let me tell you, there was at one point, we lived in the area with our son who wasn't on his own at that point. But like I told her, I was like, like there was a moment where we were hours from losing our hotel room because we just didn't have the money to pay for it the next day. And I told her, I was like, maybe you need to talk to, I'm not gonna say his name, but maybe you need to talk to our son and see if you can stay there. And me and Harley would we'll stay in the car. Like we'll pack up the car with everything that can fit, and I'll just stay with Harley in the car, and you go there. Like my whole concern was that my wife was gonna be in the street, and as a man, like I was like, like if I gotta do it, then I've done it before. I was like, I've been in a situation where I've had to rebuild my life, and I've lived in a car for a few months at a time. And I was, at this point, I'm like, I have no answers. And what was really hard was watching her stress and her being terrified about what was possibly and more than likely gonna happen. It was
when you're homeless, dude, and you're unemployed and you don't have a pot to piss in, dude, like it messes with your mental health really bad. Because when you're homeless and you're by yourself as a man, like you figure it out. Like if I needed to sleep right there, then I just do it. Like it is what it is. Like I deal with it. But there's nothing worse as a husband than watching your wife cry Because in a couple of hours, she's got to pack up this room for us to go nowhere. And that shit.
You know, I was like, I don't know. You know, I was watching my wife struggle mentally and emotionally about what we were going through. And as a man, like, there was nothing I could do. Like, you know, ride shares wasn't paying us money. As a matter of fact, we were spending more money trying to make money than actually making money. And then like I couldn't find a job. You know, for various reasons. I applied all sorts of places, and if I applied to something per my resume, then it was like, well, you don't have a degree. And then if I applied to something under my resume, it was like, well, you used to do this, why do you want to do this now? And so it was a struggle, and watching her go that and watching her deal with that, and then being rejected every time I try to make a move to do something. And there were plenty of times that we were like, all right, this is it. Like, we were like, at one point we were in Boca Raton, and at one point I applied to a job that was gonna pay really well or offering, you know, good money, but it was in Miami. And we were preparing to tell our son, like, hey, like, look, we might be moving to Miami if we get this job. And the job she was at the time it was transferable. It was transferable, and there was locations in Miami, and so we were like, hey, like, this is gonna be it. And in the end, I didn't even hear back from them. I don't even think I heard back from them.
They never even called back.
There were plenty of places that was like that. Like, I would interview, I would take the time. Like, now mind you, I have been at my career for 17 years. So at the time that I was interviewing before till now, like, so many things have changed. Like, there were many jobs where I would go on like 3 and 4 level like step interviews. Like, you know, like, okay, you know, the 3rd interview and the 4th interview, and I would go through all these steps, and then crickets, and then I wouldn't hear anything back. But it was a struggle, man. Like, we just, you know,
it was a struggle in the sense that it felt like there was no way out. It was like we were literally drowning in a cup, and we were trying to save each other, and we couldn't get ourselves out of this. Like, the cup was just, it was so full that we couldn't get out of it. Like, it was just ongoing. Like, and then it was like, you know, something would happen, and it was like a domino effect. Like, you know, the car, or it was always something. It was always something that it was like, let's see if this test, they pass this test. Let's see if they pass this test. Let's see. Like, it just kept on and on and on. And it was like, wow. Like, I mean, little things, you know, that people don't really think about. So, for example, you know, you do subscriptions to your Walmart, your Uber Eats, your DoorDash, you know, for Carlos, his stuff that he uses for his YouTube channel, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, we're struggling for money, and all of a sudden here they all come at the same time when the morning I get paid, and they just $150 gone. And I'm like, that's a whole 2 nights of hotel stay.
Everything just came out at once.
Like, it was shit like that, you know, and that would just like, wow, like, this is really happening. Like, why is this happening? You know, the nights where, you know, we didn't have nothing to eat, where I
ate baked beans one day for dinner.
And I had a bag of popcorn.
And she had a bag of popcorn.
Well, let me rephrase that. Me and Harley had a bag of popcorn.
Like
literally.
So, I just wanted to, like, show y'all, like, the 4-course meal that Lexi whipped up for us today. Like, this is, like, top of the line, grind, like, starter kit type shit. Like, this is what it is. So, Lexi's eating popcorn. We got some buttered popcorn in there. And then we have some baked beans.
Don't forget the bread.
And some bread. And some sliced bread.
Oh, and the drink.
And We had enough of some Diet Cokes. And this is it, baby. So
There was nights like that's just what it was, and we didn't we not to say that I don't think that we can honestly say that we weren't not angry at each other. We were angry with the situation. So yes, there were days where I personally, I'm that type of person. When I'm upset or I'm in my feelings, and he can vouch for this. My thoughts are somewhere. Like that's all I can focus on. Like I'm that person. Like if that's what I'm worried about, then that's all I can think about.
yeah,
Like
it was
when
literally consuming her.
like literally just taking everything in me, like my entire life was just thinking about what tomorrow was going to bring or not bring. And it was hard. It was really, really hard. But again, at no point did I say to myself, I'm just going to leave and I'm going to deal with this on my own.
And let me say that when I suggested that she go stay with our son, like she got really pissed off at me.
I was
She was
angry.
like, "Don't you ever fucking tell me
I was angry.
to leave you. Like, don't you
I was
ever
angry.
do that." And
I was angry, and not angry at him like, oh my God, I can't believe, like, I hate you for this. I knew why he was saying what he was saying. He wanted to make sure that I was eating every day, and he knew that if I was there, then I was going to be okay, in that aspect. I was going to eat every day. I was going to have a roof over my head every day. He knew that was, so that's why he said it. And for me, it was just like, if we're going to go through this, we're going to go through this together, and the thought of having to sleep in the car was not like, it wasn't a good feeling. It didn't feel good. It was overwhelming. Again, it consumed me on many of occasions. For the most part that we were there, but never, not once, did I think of ending my marriage, walking away from my marriage. That wasn't an option. And again, I'm not going to say that for everybody it's the same. Something to remember in this process is that it's one thing to go through this with someone, and that someone is actually going through it with you.
yeah,
I think that is what's going to make the difference in a relationship staying together, right? Because we could have gone through what we were going through, and if I was the only one worried about how we were going to eat, how we were going to keep a roof over our heads, how we would, then from
right.
you, when you said walk away, it would have been very easy at that point for me to walk away. You know what I mean? But that wasn't the case. We were going through it together. It wasn't that he was eating and I wasn't, or I was eating and he wasn't. Whenever he made money, the first thing he thought about was, I'm gonna bring you lunch. Like I'm gonna.
There were times where there was one particular time where we went to sleep and we hadn't eaten, and I had woke up and I made some money, and I ordered her
IHOP.
DoorDash from IHOP. Like I had it sent. I had it sent to her job. There was a couple times I did. One day, like it was really hot, and I ordered
The AC in the office.
the AC in the office was in her office was bad, and I wound up having some. I had made some money, so I had her delivered like an ice cream sundae or something like that
Yeah.
to help her. Like we did like
Again, we went through it together.
Yeah.
So I think that's what made the difference, and I think that that's something to remember in these types of situations. I mean, I hope that nobody ever has to go through what we went through. Unfortunately, it's real life, right? It happens. We don't want it to, but it happens. And the thing to remember is that you're going through it together, and as long as if you're going through it together, then you're gonna come out of it together. Now, if only one person is taking it on solely, then yes, you're not going to come out of it together, because that person is going to get tired. That person is going to be like, well, I'm putting in all this effort, and I'm doing all of this, and I'm trying, and you're not, so you're going to want to walk away, because at that point, that in the toughest of times, that person's not going to have your back. So what is the point?
Yeah. So, but we kept each other's spirits up. We would, do everything we can to you know keep a smile on each other's face. And
We out here trying to make money over there snoring.
Tired.
That's his middle name. He wasn't given one at birth. Carlos Tired Arnez Jr.
I have a right to be tired. I've worked 7 days straight.
I've worked with you,
I,
so I have a
I'm-
right to be tired too.
I'm not disputing that. But we're not talking about you. We're talking about me.
I don't have a middle name. You do.
Whatever.
I think he'd feel some kind of way about the middle name that I just assigned him. What y'all think? I think he has a problem with it. You have a problem with it?
Tired.
That's the word that comes out of his mouth at least 12 times a day. Tired.
I work hard.
Tired. Tired. And tired. And tired. Then he laughs at me.
I work hard, damn it.
I know you do.
All right. So then let me be tired.
one thing that we learned quickly is that, you know, especially for me, like, when we first was going through this, like, I kept telling her, like, you got to stay positive, you got to be focused, you got to do this on them. And then I quickly learned that, like, when she was having her moments, like, I just let her be. Like, I let her feel what she was gonna feel. I let her, cry her tears. I let her, and the same thing, when I
He had
eventually,
his moments.
because initially it was like, well, why aren't you looking stressed, and why aren't you this, and ladies, I don't know if you realize this. What I'm about to say is that, when you're going through a struggle, do you really want to see your man lose control? Like, do you really want to see your man
That was his response to me.
break down and lose your shit? And I asked her, I was like, do you really want to see me stressed? Do you
Because again, let me just say that I was feeling what I was feeling, right? But I expressed what I was feeling. I said to him, like, but why aren't you as stressed as me? That was literally my question. Like, why aren't you crying? Like, why aren't you going through all this mental that I'm going through? And that was his response. He was like, do you want me to be in the same situation that you're, like, want me to feel like you're doing right now? You want me to lose control? You want me to just be walking around with my head in my ass, stressed out? Like, is that what you want? And at that moment, I was like, no, I don't. Like, I was like, yeah, no, I really don't want you to be that
there
way.
were moments when I did. There were moments, after rejection after rejection, after, time and time again, where there were moments where I did break down, where I did, like, scream at the top of my lungs, and I would cry and stuff. And how did it make you feel? Like,
If it didn't make me feel like, it didn't feel good, because when the first time that it happened, I felt guilty. I felt like, oh my God, like, it's because I said what I said that now he feels like he's not doing enough. How I felt. So I was like, it's my fault. Like, he's breaking and it's my fault. And let me just say that for the first 10 years of our marriage, of our relationship, period, of our relationship, from the day it started, for the first 10 years of our relationship, I'm not going to say that I depended on Carlos, because I worked. I had a 9 to 5.
She always had her own money.
I've always been independent that way. However, I depended on Carlos. I did. My life revolved around Carlos. Like, not saying that it doesn't now, but like, I depended on him. Like, I depended on him for the emotional stability, the physical stability, the financial stability. Like, I depended on Carlos for all of those things. So when I saw that he didn't have control of those things, it scared me. I got scared because I felt like my husband always has control. Like, my husband is always in control. Like, I'm not, You know, like I never had to worry about those things because my husband always had control. Like there was no way that I was going to be without, whether it was a need or a want. There was no way I was going to be without because he was going to make it possible. And when you're going through these kinds of situations, you realize that you took all of those moments for granted, right? You took all of those things for granted, you know, and I can say it now because, you know, it's not funny anymore. It was funny then. I used to think of it as a joke, but I used to literally get a brand new car of the year every 2 years. Faithfully, before my birthday, I had a new vehicle of whatever vehicle I wanted of that year.
Wait.
Like, it never failed.
Wait, I'm no baller. Like she wasn't getting BMWs and Mercedes
Yeah,
and
no,
stuff.
I didn't.
We're
I'm
talking
not
about
that
like
kind of person.
we're talking about Nissans. So like
Yeah,
she was getting Nissans.
I was into Nissan. I love Nissans. So I went from one Nissan to another model, and that was what I did. But you know, he did all of those things. You know, was, I still am. I just can't do it. But I love shopping. I guess what woman doesn't, right? However, for me, I had the privilege of being able to do that and go to the supermarket. And I spent my Saturdays while my husband was working from 9:30 in the morning. I would leave my house at 9:30 in the morning, and I wouldn't get home till 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But while my husband was working on Saturdays, every Saturday except for the Saturday that I had AJ, we would only go to Ollie's. I was shopping. I was doing our food shopping. I was at stores rearranging my house.
I would literally come home and my house looked different. Like there would be new shit
yeah,
all
like
over the place.
that was what I was into. Like I was into rearranging my house, changing the colors every other month. Like that was what I did. However, you know, I took those moments for granted because I look back at them and I'm like, you know, I didn't go into a Walmart with a list of, you know, a budget. Oh, this is all I'm gonna spend on groceries. I just went in there, I bought what I wanted, what I felt I needed, paid for it, and I walked out. And when we were going through what we've been going through, I look back at those moments and I'm like, well, maybe if I didn't spend that much then, maybe we would have had some of that still, you know? So, you know, again, if you go through it together, you're gonna come out of it together. That's my personal feeling on that.
That's and and now, mind you, this is not the only struggle that we've been through. When we first started, like we wound up, and it wasn't as bad, but we wound up in a little bit of struggle while we were initially dating, and you know when we moved into each other with each other. But one thing that I always stress to her, one thing that I've always told her, you know, throughout the years that we've been together, is that whatever we go through, we're gonna go through together. Like we're gonna figure this shit out together. It's gonna take both of us. And I tell her that, like, it's gonna take both of us. It's gonna take both of us to buckle down and, you know, get some grit and some determination and some hustle in us. But, you know, we're gonna get through it together. And I think that you know, I think that's the most important thing, is that if you determine to say, you know, the problem is not you versus me. The problem is us versus this situation, and we have to be together as a team to figure out how we're gonna get out of this situation.
You know, and don't, you know, we're not here to say, oh, it's easy, or, you know, it's gonna be a piece of cake. You know, this has not been easy. This, I don't know about for Carlos, because I'm gonna speak for myself like he speaks for himself. This has been the hardest thing in my life to go through. It's taught me so much. You know, they say that everything you go through in life is a lesson. There's something behind it. It's teaching you something, and absolutely. This has been the hardest thing that I've ever personally gone through in my life, as far as, you know, being an adult and being on my own and stuff like that. Because I think the hardest thing in my life was losing my dad, but we won't talk about that because then I'll get emotional and y'all don't want to see that. I ugly cry. A lot. Y'all don't want to see that.
You know, we've been back in North Carolina for about a month and a half, and you know, we're still looking. We decided that we're not gonna sit around and wait. Like we're not gonna just, you know, sit here and like, you know, twiddle our thumbs and hopefully the right job comes along.